Well, I think it's that thing of having to create something that becomes iconic. I'm from Melbourne, from Blackburn, in the outer suburbs of Melbourne. And then after a period of studying there, I actually decided to start travelling. And when I was in Paris, I was offered a job, and it just felt right. You know, it was like a nice mix between Australia and Europe. And then I realised also that after studying sculpture for about a year, I realised also that what I'd been doing in fashion was, in a way, a form of sculpture. Because I actually felt an affinity with fabrics, I guess. When the idea of this project came up, my immediate response was an emotional one, I guess, because it's that thing of Qantas being such a part of my history, of Australia's history. I always say that I'm more about evolution than revolution, so things can remain quite classic and don't really go out of date, and so the uniform is exactly that. I have to say that I see this very much as an Australian project, but I see it very much as an international project. Qantas is an international company and it operates all over the world, and so I think it's important to keep that in mind as well as maintaining a certain Australianness to it. For me, it's how I approach my own work. You know, I tend to look at the codes, look at things that historically have worked and that remain powerful, and then you can draw on those elements. And so I decided to really just bring it back to this strong graphic quality to reflect the logo of Qantas, which is something that has stood the test of time. The technicality of aviation, it's so specific, and then when you put fashion into that, it has very specific requirements to it. Also, the uniforms really, when you look at them and trace back, they really very specifically reflect an era, and I find that fascinating because it's really, I mean, it's how fashion works, but in airlines it's even more concrete somehow. It really is that challenge of coming up with something very fresh and contemporary, but that won't next season look out of date, because we're not talking about seasons, we're talking about a whole period of time. I really do see Qantas as being sort of an ambassador for Australia. It feels like I'm contributing something to Australia's history.